And I'm gonna start letting folks in.
All right. Why are you doing that? It's making everything dark. Bad idea. Pull that back up.
Who?
Thumbs down. Yeah. Keep it up. Why are the other ones down?
Because it was a big glare.
Okay.
Good morning. A couple more minutes. We're gonna let some more folks get in here before we get started.
Will the video be shown before or during?
Yeah, we're gonna open with it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so we'll be good. All right. Okay, I think we've got the majority of the folks who have RSVP'd in. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jasmine Canick. Thank you for attending today's press conference regarding Mark Matthew Bender Jr. A couple of things. In the chat section, I'm going to drop a link. So for my reporters who need photos or who need a copy of the claim for damages, you'll be able to get that from the link. So you don't have to ask for it. In addition, if you need a one-on-one interview with any of the participants today, you need to put that in the chat and let me know so that I can make sure that we do that directly after the presser. And we will do Q&A. We will take questions afterwards. So if you have a question, just raise your hand and I'll be able to bring you in. And if you need, if for some reason someone doesn't give you their name and their title, because this is also a very emotional situation, just drop it in the chat. I'm happy to give you names and relationships and titles so that we don't have to further sort of bombard the family. So we're gonna open up with, I'm awful at doing screen sharing, but I'm gonna give this a try. We're gonna open up with the video, and then from the video, we're gonna go right into the presser. So let me get this video queued up and we will get started. Make sure I don't have anything on my screen I don't want nobody to see.
Yeah. Good call, Tim.
All right. Let's see. How do I do this?
Come back. Come here. Let me see your ass. Let me see your ass. Let me see your ass. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. What are you doing? Touch me. Get on the ground. Stop moving. What the fuck? Stop fighting. Stop fighting. Where are you going? Stop fighting. Stop fighting, dude. What are you doing?
Okay. All right. So, Brian, I think the floor is yours.
I'm Brian Dunn. I'm with the family of Mark Bender, and the attorneys for the Mark Bender family will introduce themselves as we proceed forward. We have one main question, folks. What good was accomplished by this? What benefit to public safety was advanced by this law enforcement officer's response to this situation? What good was done? If you take away all of the human components, if you take away any component of race, if you take away any component of law enforcement training, we can look at it in terms of physics. For every action, there's going to be a reaction. And if a law enforcement officer responds with aggression, he has to be trained and he has to understand that this is going to produce a certain reaction. No crime had been committed in his presence. The crime that was reported was articulated as someone jumping on cars, waving a gun. No human is threatened. There is no victim in this crime. And with regard to the information that they had no knowledge as to whether Mr. Bender was legally entitled to carry that weapon or not. We do know that he wasn't threatening anyone at all when this officer responded to this. But the question really becomes, folks, why did this happen and what good was accomplished by this officer's approach to the situation? He came out of his car. This is a prop gun. He came out of his car with his gun drawn and brandished in a way that is consistent with what we know to be a gangster 1980s gangster style of holding a gun. This is not trained in any police academy. It's not trained in any law enforcement agency. This was pure aggression. And the concept of pure aggression is what we're talking about here. Because this family is dealing with such a grievous loss that words can scarcely articulate what they've been through since receiving the news of what has happened to Mr. Bender. Why did it happen? And what good was accomplished by this? The officer's aggression precipitated a cycle of events that made this about the officer. There's no training protocol that would authorize this response. There's no training protocol that would authorize the officer to act independently without the assistance of any other departmental resources under these circumstances. There was no act of crime. He didn't even have the legal authority to arrest Mr. Bender based on the circumstances that were presented to him. But what is most important to us is how can we keep this from happening to another family? How can we keep this from happening, period? And when we talk about that, we have to consider how this has affected the Bender family. I have Byron Bender to my left. And we're going to let him tell you in his words. Why don't you move on over and I'll move back.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Byron Johnson. I apologize. I'm the cousin of Mark Bender. He was my cousin. He was my family. He was one of the pillars of the family. Since he's here no longer, I'm now the pillar, stepping up in his place. I'm the voice of the family. Last year was one of the hardest years our families, not just ours, but everyone's family had to face with the COVID virus and the coronavirus spreading about, killing people's families. Very rough year. That's a no fault of their own. They're getting sick. But imagine something that was preventable like this. A family member that was ripped away from you, that was preventable like this. It's very important to get this message out there because until it happens to you or somebody you love,
Amen.
It's easy to just turn the other cheek and say, that's just on TV.
Yes.
But when it hits you home, it's a different type of pain. It really is. And it's hard for me to sit up here and talk so openly about this, but I got to stay strong for the family. But it's very hard. Mark wasn't just a cousin. He was a brother. He was an uncle. He was a son. He was loved by many in the community. And to have him ripped away unnecessarily and ironically in front of the same place that he worked, he was employed there as a security guard. It's ironic that he was murdered in front of the place that he was hired to protect. The very doorstep that he was there to protect, that's where the officer murdered him. Justice needs to be served. We would like to thank the Black Lives Matter movement for coming out and supporting us, marching with us, everybody that showed up from all over the state that came and joined hands with us. We appreciate your love and your support. And we just want to be very vocal about this and what's going on, because unfortunately, when you hear about this, police shootings almost on a daily basis, sometimes multiple times in the same day, we could become numb to what's going on. And that is part of the problem. Being numb to what's happening. We cannot allow ourselves to be numb to what's going on. It is unacceptable. There needs to be changes made from the inside out, from the top down. Mark was a big teddy bear, and that's what my family known him as. He was a big guy, but he was silly, he was loved, he was encouraging, he was positive. He had no right to take him from us, the officer. We just want justice. All lives do matter. We just want Black lives to be a part of that equation.
Hi, my name is Davinna Gentry, and I am Mark's auntie. I called him my little big baby because he was just a big teddy bear, but he loved his family. He loved to be around his family. He was good. He was an awesome singer, a fantastic cook. He was just an all-around good man. And I feel like that officer cheated our family because, like my other nephew said, he took a pillar because he was strong and he tried to hold his family together, and he loved his family and would do anything for his family. So he had no right to do that. My nephew wasn't a danger to him at all, at all. And yes, we do need justice, and I have to sit and try to be strong for my sister, to help my sister, because that was her baby, and you took him. And we need justice for that. My can't figure. I'm Mark's mom. And I'm just trying to understand what part of America is this today, where this is on display, where they just kill innocent people. How is this America today? Back in the 70s, there was officers who would compensate you if there was, excuse me, ma'am, is there a problem? Can I talk to you? There's none of this today. Now it's all about violence of shooting our young men in our back, not just my son, so many others who have died at the hands of an officer to end their lives. Justice really needs to be served. This is not fair. This is not fair at all. When the officer, at least if he feels his life even was threatened, he could have used force, a taser or whatever. He did not have to shoot my son in his back 4 times. And then the autopsy shows where they gutted him from the back to the front, and they had never done this thing before. This is not fair. Justice needs to be served. It needs to be done. It needs to be done. My firstborn is gone. He's gone. He's gone. I can't even call him on the phone. He won't even answer the phone no more. He's gone.
My name is Mark Bender Sr. I'm the father of Mark, who was murdered by an officer in San Bernardino. That's what it is. Let's call it what it is. It was a murder. Far too long we've seen where it's like the people they're supposed to protect and serve, if you're Black or brown, they're killing us and knocking us down. It's like they have a license to do this. And justice needs to be served. Justice needs to be served. This officer was totally out of line. He appears to be untrained. And we just want justice for our family. This officer and the San Bernardino Police Department drastically need to be held accountable, because as has been stated before, you know, it's too much going on. where they're killing our children. Hello, everybody. My name is Rodney Diggs, of the firm Ivie, McNeill, Wyatt, Purcell, and Diggs, who's co-counsel and representing the Bender family. And like the family said, this is an injustice that seems to be happening to just us all the time, every day. And so what co-counsel and I intend to do is seek justice for the Bender family. This has to stop. There has to be training. What the officer did by holding the gun to the side, that is in no training at any police academy in the nation, is reprehensible. It's uncalled for. There's questions that need to be answered. They need to be held accountable.
And when we see the suffering of a mother who has lost her son, we submit that that is the worst pain that can happen in this planet, is a mother losing her son. This is a jarring event. She heard about it from a phone call. It took a long time for her to even understand that this was not a dream and that it was really happening. Amid all of the civil disturbances, the events such as this have risen to the public consciousness. There have even been calls to defund police departments. We don't take a stand one way or another, but I want to ask you one question. If this officer had not been there, if he had never shown up, would we be in a better place than we are now? So if anyone has any questions, we'd be more than happy to entertain them at this time.
Okay, thank you. So if anyone from the media has any questions, can you go ahead and raise your hand and I will bring you in. All right, and when I call on you, please identify yourself and the outlet that you're representing. Brian Rokos?
Yes. Hi, Brian Rokos at the Press Enterprise.
Go ahead.
Which business was Mr. Bender working for as a security guard? And was he working at the time?
So Mr. Bender
Identify
worked.
yourself.
Oh, my name is Timaiah Smith. Spelling is Timaiah Smith. I'm an attorney at the Cochran Firm here on the case.
I'm
And
sorry, could you spell Timaiah again, please?
yes, no problem. Timaiah.
Okay.
Okay. And so Mr. Bender was a security guard at the King Tut liquor store, which was right there where the shooting occurred. He was not working at the time that the incident took place.
Okay. The orange object that looked like a gun that you had on the desk earlier, was that what Mr. Bender pulled out of his pocket? And was that did you call that a prop gun?
This is a prop gun, and I'm happy that you asked that, Mr. Rokos. This is intended to demonstrate the manner in which the officer approached.
I see.
Now, we do see at the tail end of the video, Mr. Bender attempting to get rid of a gun. Now, if you look at the video and if you play the video with the sound, you're going to hear that the last word that he uttered in his life was don't. Don't. If Mr. Bender had this frame of mind to use that gun to shoot that officer, he would have done it immediately. He would have done it before he was in a situation where he believed that the officer's aggression was such that he had to let him know that he didn't have this thing. Let him know that he's getting rid of it. But what most people don't realize, and what 26 years of training in police misconduct litigation has taught me, is that the possession of a firearm does not give a law enforcement officer justification for the use of lethal force. The mere holding of the gun. You have to be using that firearm in a way that would cause a reasonable officer to fear that he was in peril. And when we look at what's happening at the tail end of the video with this weapon, that the officer knew he was likely in possession of, he is trying to get rid of it. And this is the kind of thing that we see in many instances. And when we talk about the tactical response to this, think about what would have happened if, instead of tackling him, instead of approaching him aggressively, that he had a coordinated response with other departmental members, that from a position of cover said, if you're in possession of a weapon, we want you to take it out of your pocket and lay it down. If instead of escalating the situation through violence, there had been a peaceful approach, there had been a coordinated tactical response that took these events slowly. And instead of rushing him, talk to him, treat him like a human being. There is no justification for treating him as if he has already committed a crime and that he deserves to be punished. Police officers come across individuals with weapons all the time in this city and in every major city. There is a way to disarm a person without killing them. And when the adrenaline is so high, when the aggression is so high, when the level of violence is so high, all of those options are taken away. So we feel, and we are sure that any reasonably well-trained law enforcement officer would agree with us, that this is not the way to do it. And that's why we have a grieving family here.
And this is Mr. Dunn speaking?
Yes, I'm Brian Dunn.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it, Brian?
Yes, yeah, I think your position on the events is very clear with regard to the officer escalating rather than de-escalating the situation. And just to clarify, Mr. Bender was pulling out the gun to get rid of it as a means to show the officer that he was not a threat. Is that what you're?
What we would ask is that you look at the video and make the decision for yourself. Look at it and come to the conclusion yourself. But try to imagine, tactically speaking, if they were not in a fight, how much easier it would have been for the gun to be presented and placed on the floor. Again, if Mr. Bender were desperate enough or crazy enough to shoot this officer, it would have happened immediately. It would have happened. It would have been something that would have been called an ambush. It is very common that individuals who have had some contact with the system will try to get rid of guns because there are prison enhancements that are associated with being in the mere possession of a gun. But we don't kill people for trying to get rid of guns in the presence of law enforcement officers. All of this happened because of the first aggression. All of the reactions that happened because of the initial response. And one of the things folks have to understand is this is not what officers are trained to do. In fact, it is the diametrical opposite of what officers are trained to do, because this is not rocket sciences. This has happened before. Officers know that there's going to be a violent outcome if certain tactical considerations are forgotten. And when we escalate instead of de-escalate, we're creating the likelihood of this kind of scenario. And that's not what anybody wants.
All right, well, thank you very much. Thank all of you. And thanks for spelling your names too.
I can't hear you. You're muted. I
I
can't
know.
hear you.
Sorry. We had a question from Tara Atrian. I don't know if Tara still had a question. Did you have a question still, Tara? Hello, Tara? Okay. Well, I guess not. So there are no other hands raised, so I think that we're good. Oh, she says she's having audio issues. Well, drop it in the chat. If anyone needs a one-on-one interview, reach out to me and let me know, and we can go ahead and set that up directly after this. And again, name, spellings, and titles are in the chat. So if you want to grab those out of there, go ahead. But if you don't get a chance to get them, you can always send me an email or give me a call, and I will get those to you. Other than that, I think.
Can I make a statement, please?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
Come on. I just want to put this out there. One way to prevent this from happening ever again is for the police department and any other agency that's put into place to protect the communities, actually start building back trust in those same communities. If you guys want this to stop happening, you got to get our trust back. We don't know if you're going to kill us. We can't even call you. You want us to call you when there's something happening. We can't even do that because you might kill us. So the agencies need to start building back trust in the communities. You can start by doing more training and de-escalation. Train your officers better. We're paying taxes. Use those funds towards training. Focus more on de-escalating the situation, please.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for showing up. Everyone have a great day.